O song celestial. Hello, Bhagavad Gita. Let me see what comes out of me when I read thee. Okay, just had to do a bit of digesting. Yeah, I have worked on the Rubik's Cube a little. Saturday is another big hike, as is all the following Saturdays. Until further notice or something. I don't quite know yet. Winter is a bit hard. So it's not just winter, it's also the not always being in nature. And then winter is always a kind of a clash. But also I have to test this because I haven't formally managed to abstain from masturbation. So I as a spirit also must learn to experience how this is going to change me, especially hiking barefoot. Yeah, 30, 40 kilometer routes. Some maybe even up to 50, I don't know. I haven't measured them. I just know they take roughly 12 hours if it's a day route. But there are longer. Sometimes I do sidetracking and then I hike longer routes. Plus, if you're barefoot, you know, I mean, I'm telling you, it's a beating, but it changes you in ways that you cannot understand unless you go through it yourself. But you still do need to rest. But yeah, I think I want to finish this. Maybe not all today. But I still have a bit of tea. So yeah, I'm preparing myself. I'm already wondering now, okay, what food am I gonna bring? You know, what tea can I prepare? Yeah, I'm probably gonna go with black tea. I may just go with water. I'll have to see. So in terms of energy flow, this will be my first winter without actually knowing how I'm going to do. Because I have pushed my boundaries so far. Until you no longer recognize yourself even. You just have to accept it then. You know, you've wanted change, you were looking for a man, now you found one in yourself. And it crawled out of a really, really tight hole. And that one you can remember, you know. Yeah, I cannot remember the first hole I crawled out of, because I was in this unconscious kind of slumber. You know, as a babe. But I remember that hole that I crawled out of. And it's probably the same hole still. Sometimes I feel like you're just climbing out of the womb of your mother so you can get into the womb of your wife. And you don't want to get into the womb, but in a way you do. I mean, propagation, right? My spirit somehow does it then shoot energy into the womb of my wife, mixes with her energy and becomes life or something? You know, is she the dark part of creation? The soggy oil, the soggy soil? Because women are certainly quite, I'm just saying, I mean, there is moistness, which to a man is like, yeah. I have compared it before. That's basically, if you're a mountain and you imagine just being a mountain and then like a really moist cloud comes and covers you. Now imagine your manhood. Let's say you've stopped masturbating and now you're getting used to not masturbating. That's the strangest thing of all. The pressure is there, but it ain't leaking out. It's just flowing into creation. And then just imagining a woman mounting you is like, mounting, we call it like this even. And then it's really like you're this hardened rock face and the sun is boiling down on you. Yeah, maybe it is like this. And then suddenly this woman comes, this woman cloud, soft, and she just, wow. If that ain't liberation. Yeah, but it doesn't ever last. Plus, it probably isn't something you want to get used to, because if it becomes a drag, it's just another hell. So that's basically also partly the point, that you gotta know that sex ain't for always. And that's one of the things I have often wondered about, if, in Tantra, or which is still of course some form of yoga, to really truly do Tantra, you have to be really strong. Like your mind has to be also strong. You got to be able to hold all kinds of positions so you can stay together for longer periods of time. The question is then, because this is something that can also only be experienced by like a true wife who also has done her hardening. So question, can you spend time with each other in such a way which we call sexually, which doesn't really do justice to it? Can you spend time with each other without always then getting pregnant? And if you don't want children anymore after, let's say, you already had 2 children, would you even feel like still connecting in such a way? Maybe your lust for sex diminishes, or your time is just gone. Because that's also something, do you want to... at a certain time there just ain't time for sex. You can squeeze it in, but that's not really Tantra. That's just having a quickie. Tantra is building it up. Tantra is in a way storing energy and then releasing it slowly over extended periods of time. Which is why, in a sense, this war, which now Arjuna is supposed to rage, isn't really true lovemaking. It's not really tantric, it's just one giant explosion of rage and carnage, which also, of course, has its charm. It's just over so fast. But if we have, If we propagate, that means more and more children, which means more and more weight, more and more chatter, and less quality of life. Which is why I also believe, no matter what I've said, that if it's like this, then war is in a way inevitable. Simply because we cannot always agree on everything. Sometimes it just has to clash in some way or other. But then the question is, okay, with whom do you want to clash, and does it have to clash now? Yeah. And then always the question, why me? Well, maybe others just want to push off responsibility, or maybe you are simply a singular being, which not everyone is. Some are simply followers, and others are more like leaders, and that comes with acceptance. But we're living in times where followers are posing as leaders, which means they ain't got no direction other than stuffing their own pockets, because they aren't true leaders, because a leader needs a direction. But if your direction is only your own pocket, yeah, okay, but then you're not really a leader, then you're just a thief. And that's just what it is. A true leader really needs to be hardened. So once you go for the whole stability thing, and it's starting to show that you really learned something by going into nature, which singles you out as different in this society, because this is not normal to go hiking barefoot. Normal here means watching porn. Normal here means breaking your back by driving cars all the time. Right? So normal here means drinking coffee and being miserable. Normal here means having a hip replacement at the age of whatever. Or, I have met 30-year-old people who had varicose veins removed surgically. That came at the recommendation of a doctor. He didn't say, hey, you should maybe go hiking barefoot, man. And then it's still up to the so-called patient, who should be in charge of his own health, but he isn't. And so he goes to a doctor because he's too lazy to change. And the doctor then recommends, yeah, you should have your varicose veins removed. And what does he do? He doesn't say, what are you talking about? Isn't there an alternative? And then the doctor could say, no, there isn't really. Yeah, or he increases your fear. He says, well, if you want to have a heart attack, you don't have to do it. For him, it's just money. That's what he cares about. And then you say, yeah, okay, I'll do it. Or you say, yeah, okay, thank you. And then you leave, never come back, start hiking barefoot. Bam! Back in the game. No more varicose veins. So people now already think it's normal to have these varicose veins when you're getting older. So they even expect to have them, and then they know, oh, now I'm finally getting old. Soon I'll have retirement. Well, imagine you have that with 30. I'm hiking barefoot, my friend. I'm squatting most of the time. So, well, most of the time I do it fairly regularly, but it's still a challenge. It's getting easier though. So what's normal? Normal is, to me, what stayed after everything else fell away. Stayed after maybe I added it. And then something becomes normal to you as an individual. Because normal should be balanced and not imbalanced, and even creating further imbalances just to stick to being imbalanced. Hey, let's just be all really imbalanced together. Why? I really do not see the benefit in this. I tried, or I was, but the cost is just, you're just running after your mistakes all the time until you simply say, you know what, if that's a mistake, I'll just keep pushing. After all of this happened in the recent weeks, and I threw away all my fly agaric and all that kind of stuff, and I said, no more HP, no more tobacco, I'll just somehow try to stay in the light. I'll just be what I believe to be, which is simply a strong soul, a ray of hope or whatever, but still kind of stern, grounding. Hey, I'll rather be a bit like Toph Bei Fong from the Avatar series, and just say rock hard, and if you budge, I'm not gonna run at you. I'm just gonna say, well, you should have prepared yourself better. I have prepared myself for whatever is going to come, but I'm also unwilling to have myself manage. Nobody can manage me anyway. I mean, I do listen to certain things, but like what happened, what I roughly hinted on with the garden, I don't go back and then apologize because they've got nothing that I want. So it is in that sense then also a normal decision to simply say, hey, you know what? I actually didn't want the garden. I wanted to turn the garden into a forest. So why don't I just go into the forest, Why don't I go and advertise nature by going into it instead of trying to be some tame pet, like lawn mowing or something? It's just ridiculous. For me, personally, right? It's like, if you do this, you've already given up. That for the rest of your life? How can you be okay with this? I want to get out of this so I can get away from, like canalization and stuff. I don't want to feed this. I'm already saving a lot of water. Like I said, I have the siphon of the U-bend of my sink in the bathroom. I put it to the side, covered it with like a bit of plastic wrapping, put a bucket underneath the sink, so when I wash my hands or rinse my face, it falls into the bucket, which means that I don't have to feel bad even for washing my hands, because I save water. And that's nice. I like it. And if every Saturday I go swimming in a natural lake, I even save water on showering, which is then energy or money. It's just nice for me to know that I've at least reduced my footprint, because yeah, I have parked a lot of stuff on the internet. Okay. Yeah, I am trying to get to the speed solving phase of my Rubik's Cube days. For that I have to practice these all, which is the solving the the yellow layer, which is just the layer before the last layer. There's like 50 something algorithms you kind of have to get into your head or into your mind until they just run off. Chapter 4. Krishna speaketh. This deathless yoga, this deep union, I taught Vivasvata, the Lord of Light. Vivasvata to Manu gave it. He to Ikshvaku so passed it down the line of all my royal rishis. Then with years the truth grew dim and perished. Noble prince, now once again to thee it is declared, this ancient lore, this mystery supreme, seeing I find thee votary and friend. Arjuna speaketh, thy birth, dear lord, was in these later days, and bright Vivasvata's preceded time. How shall I comprehend this thing thou sayest? From the beginning it was I who taught. The rishis are apparently some special supreme beings that predicted stuff in the future or something. Who chose them, right? If the system is corrupt, then the rishis will be corrupt. Just like Osho was corrupt, so... Vivasvata to Manu gave it, he to Ikshvaku, so passed it down the line of all my royal rishis. Then with years the truth grew dim and perished, noble prince. So who's talking? Now once again to thee it is declared, this ancient lore, this mystery supreme, kill them all. It's just so funny. Krishna speaketh. Now Arjuna asks, how can I understand what you're saying, that it was always you? Krishna speaketh, manyfold the renewals of my birth have been, Arjuna. Okay, so he claims, apparently, to have seen the, to know that he was born before. But like I said, I could see myself as Gandhi, but what's it matter? It matters what I do now. So you could have been born 200 times before, but now you're whispering into my ear telling me to do something which my soul actually doesn't want to do. Just makes you the tempter. But mine I know, and thine thou knowest not. Oh slave, yeah, see, is tell you what you know or not know. Okay. Don't be so sure. If people tell you out of knowing things, who knows what, right? I mean, we know nothing. You can know things. You can know that if you continue like this, it's gonna turn into disaster. Or continue like a disaster. So if people come and they tell you what you don't know, not sure if that's a good sign. Unless you say, hey, he's really my teacher. I could never listen to somebody like this figure of Krishna. Or so I believe. Or I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. O slayer of thy foes. You see, now he already gives him the title, like he already did it. Albeit I be unborn. That's like the last attempt somewhere. At some point, trying to give someone this name to turn him into something he would like to have. And in the end, he just doesn't do it. Damn it, Krishna thinks, I thought I could get him, to do this. Now I have to do it myself. That's what I believe. He should just do it himself. Why does he need Arjuna for this? Anyway. It's not really judgeable if you haven't lived. Which makes this all kind of nonsense, of course. O slayer of thy foes, albeit I be unborn, undying, indestructible, the Lord of all things living, not the less, by Maya, which is supposed to be this illusion thing, or maybe it's just Gaia, by my magic which I stamp on floating nature, forms the primal vast. I come and go and come. When righteousness, it's not very stable, is it? I come and go and come, just be there then. Because you see what he said before. What is not cannot be or something. So if you go, you stop being. How can you come again then? It makes no sense. Or maybe he meant it's somewhere in between, but I just don't like this warmongering. It's a bit like Grima Wormtongue. By Maya, by my magic, which I stamp on floating nature. Which I stamp on floating nature. Nature forms the primal vast, I come and go and come. When righteousness declines, O Bharata, when wickedness is strong, I rise from age to age and take visible shape. And move a man with men, succoring the good, thrusting the evil back. Thrusting the evil back. And setting virtue on her seat again. Who knows the truth? Touching my births on earth and my divine work. When he quits the flesh, puts on its load no more, falls no more down to earthly birth. To me he comes, dear prince. Many there be who come, from fear set free, from anger, from desire, keeping their hearts fixed upon me, my faithful, purified by sacred flame of knowledge. Such as these mix with my being. Whoso worship me, them I exalt, but all men everywhere shall fall into my path. Albeit those souls which seek reward for works make sacrifice now to the lower gods. Yeah, that's basically killing. Them I exalt, but all men everywhere shall fall into my path. Albeit those souls which seek reward for works make sacrifice now to the lower gods. Albeit, wait, I just have to check this word again. Not 100% sure. I'll bite. It's not I'll bite. So yeah, we're living in times where mothers are too selfish with their milk and don't even want to give this their children, right? It's kind of really stupid. Selfish times, man. Though he was making progress, albeit rather slowly. From the phrase albeit, although it be. So it's like a additional remark. Is it a negation? So them I exalt, but all men everywhere shall fall into my path. Albeit those souls which seek reward for works okay, so if you want an instant reward, then you sacrifice to the lower gods. So that's masturbation for you. I don't know in which relation he says this. Them I exalt, such as these mix with my being. Whoso worship me, them I exalt, but all men everywhere shall fall into my path. It's like, albeit those souls which seek reward for works make sacrifice now to the lower gods. Well, But if I don't masturbate, it's like if I don't go killing, then the reward may be more stable. Because I can have lots of little rewards, or just in the end a really big reward. So you have to build this up. I don't know how it is for other people, but I could never have the relationships other people have after everything I've gone through, because I know you can do it better. So some people are too eager to escape, from being themselves. But all men everywhere shall fall into my path. I'll bite. We read, I'll bite. Those souls which seek reward for works make sacrifice now to the lower gods. I say to thee here, have they their reward. But I am he made the four castes, and portioned them a place after their qualities and gifts. Caste is actually not really a social thing. I mean, not you're higher or lower, it's more like that's your duty in life. It's not really like middle class or whatever. That's just all this domination. The castes originally were, a kshatriya is one caste, but they're kind of like helping spirits, doers who have to be active, support others in their suffering also, which is what I feel clearly like. That's kind of, it connects with me. Okay, and portion them a place after their qualities and gifts. Ye I created the reposeful. I that live immortally made all those mortal births. For works soil not my essence, being works wrought uninvolved. Who knows me acting thus unchained by action? Actions bind not him, and so perceiving all those saints of old worked, seeking for deliverance. Work thou as in the days gone by thy fathers did. So why not just continue to simply do good work instead of slaughtering people? I believe, to me, what a carpenter does is more noble than some warlord. But I have always been like this. Like I said, I cried when Godzilla died, when I was 12 in the cinema. There's just certain things I stopped crying at some point, but I started making art, which to me is crying, just less moist and more manly. If you do it in a manly way, of course. For works soil not my essence, being works wrought uninvolved. Who knows me acting thus unchained by action? Action binds not him. So of course, if you know in your heart that you have to do this, then you just have to do this. And then there's also no point in bickering. But then you'd also deeply know, actually, I want to do this. And that's what I was made for. And then you just do it. And so perceiving all those saints of old worked, seeking for deliverance, work thou as in the days gone by thy fathers did. Okay. Thou sayest perplexed, it hath been asked before by singers and by sages, what is act and what inaction? I will teach thee this, and knowing thou shalt learn Which work doth save, needs must one rightly meditate those thee. What? Sorry, you could write this different. You could really narrow it down. Which gives you the impression that whoever wrote this just didn't understand it at all. He just didn't know how to communicate this to someone who doesn't know about it. I mean, you could write this in a way anyone can understand it. It's just very confusing. All this thee and thou is like not according to these times. I will teach thee this, and knowing thou shalt learn which work doth save needs. Okay, so which work saves your soul, basically. Needs must one rightly meditate those three. Doing, not doing, and undoing. So you have to meditate these three, which means probably bring them into doing, not doing, and undoing. So doing is obviously doing, not doing is obviously then doing nothing, which is doing nothing, which is still doing something. So in a way there is no not doing. And then undoing, which is running back, to try to repair what you've done before, which never really works. So in the end, you gotta choose something, some path. You have to find some kind of a trade, even if the trade is information. So you can access these meditative states, and then you receive insights. And then you also need experiences, because just meditating won't do you any good. You also need insights. And these insights you can then also pack into books, which is then a form of trade, which others can read and then have guidance. This is what Watership Down is. This is what I do with my books in my own way. Just pass on what I have learned and received. Not everything is always 100% relevant, which is why you also have to change your life in a way that you find also meaning in the insights you get. If I continue watching movies, then I'll continue to have insights about movies, but at one point you hit rock bottom with your insight gathering, which at some point is, well, all movies are just make-believe. You're not gonna get the experience and the feeling of going on a hike alone, or doing anything. You're not gonna get it from a movie. It might inspire you to do this, but a movie is always, just something, just something to pass the time. Trying to run away from actually doing something. So a lot of people here, they all do something, but not really. Like, they're just broken, but they don't want to repair themselves because they hate the system. And I get that, I understand this, I can relate to this. Only, it's still your life. If you can hate the system and still work hard and become stronger and stronger to change the system, you get it? Because if you change and you grow and you can teach and you can communicate and you learn about all these things, well, then you can bring change. The change you feel is necessary. I'm just saying, one man or a woman can do a lot, and then imagine what we could do together. Yeah. Why do you think they're also on edge? Thou sayest, okay. I've really had somebody like this in my life. He just thought he knew everything, but he didn't really do a lot. I'm just saying, he was just often on drugs and stuff. At some point I just got bored, It's like you ask someone, he's trying to teach you, you realize, what the heck is he talking about? He's just using fancy words. Okay. Here thorny and dark the path is. He who sees how action may be rest action. He is wisest mid his kind. He hath, this is just flattery. He hath the truth. He doeth well, acting or resting. Freed in all his works from prickings of desire, burned clean in act by the white fire of truth. The wise call that man wise, and such a one, renouncing fruit of deeds, always content. Always self-satisfying, if he works. Doth nothing that shall stain his separate soul, which... Okay, then what inspires your deeds? I mean, I wish for my deeds to bear fruits, which is why I'm so reluctant to give in. Does this make me now then unwise? You know, okay, I'm not running after the fruits of my actions, but I clearly realize that if you act a lot and you do a lot, that fruits may be, right? Like, that's the harvest. You're working hard, but you also want to see results if there are no results, and results are fruits. So if I don't care what happens, you know, I'd just be doing anything. So I have to look at the world and I have to judge it. It's like, to me, this thing gives you no direction whatsoever. It's so wobbly, it doesn't tell you anything. You know, it doesn't say, you know, like, you gotta do this. It's not supposed to tell you exactly what to do. But it could be a bit more firm. But it isn't, because the guy who wrote it wasn't firm. He was a wiggly eel. So he lacked form himself, and you can tell it. It's just some love-drunken whoever, just and that's what Hildegard von Bingen did, you know, telling people to kill vultures, to take their skulls, to make some kind of a potion. What for? It's not necessary. You know, it's not necessary to take the beak of a bird or something. It's not necessary. You don't need this. It's just bullshit. It's like, that's dark magic. And everybody says, yeah, she was such a great healer. Yeah. And she also did a lot of not so great things where nobody talks about. And that's of course from today's perspective. But even back then, you could have just looked at her and said, well, does she ever go in nature? I think she lives in some kind of a monastery, just looks into the sky, you know, and just writes down stuff which seems like, yeah, I'm channeling something. Sorry, it's not. I have her works. I looked at the recipes. There's some stuff in there. She clearly knew a lot. But if it comes to, you know, just hiking to some mountain, killing some vulture that you find somewhere, and then getting some, you know, like the head. Yeah, and what about the rest? It seems a bit useless to just kill such an elegant bird because some whiny human feels miserable. It's like what they did in the Middle Ages, just leeching people. You know, just leeching people instead of, I don't know, some children maybe just weak. You could just send them to nature, you know, just have them eat some proper food. You know, stop clinging to your child also. I think your child needs to injure itself a little so that it learns and grows and prospers. But if you're just sitting in some tower all day, no wonder you're so sick. Yeah, I'm clearly talking from having read A Song of Ice and Fire with, was it Liza or something? Yeah, these people that live in this tower with the weird sun that is still being suckled at 6 years old or something. Okay. try to get this into your head. There's nothing definite. You have to really choose. This is really tedious. Because it's just so much nonsense. I'm glad it's only 52 pages. Unmoved by joy. Which quit of fear and hope. But your opinion can be entirely different, of course. I'm just taking a piss on it because everybody likes it so much. Nah, it's not the only reason. We just need tough people. Like really stern, tough people who don't stray. And that's then to me what a true meditator is, who just holds his ground against darkness. And this sounds to me like he's trying to turn Arjuna into some dark lord, which he doesn't want to be. To me it sounds like some lower being wiggling into the mind of maybe someone, who doesn't know who he is. And that's what happened to me in a way. You know, you don't want to say, yeah, I'm a higher being or something, but there's clearly something I do different than others. Yeah, and I have been with this guy who sold drugs. He told me all kinds of weird things, and it took me years to get rid of him. Like, he was kind of looming around in my mind. Just have to cast him out. You have to... It's like cleansing yourself of somebody else's energy. Okay, anyway. To body's need, nothing save body dwells in this. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. It's just super wobbly. This whole thing is super wobbly. It's all the time left and right. But it tries to sound like it is one. But the intention then is always, you just have to kill them all. It's like, it's getting a bit boring, man. Don't you have something else to say? Nay, but of such a one, whose crave is gone, whose soul is liberate. Yeah, if you liberate, you're gonna be gone, Why should I stick around if my soul is liberated? Then I shouldn't meddle anymore. Then I should just stand and watch that everything goes according to whatever, some larger plan. But if you're here, you work, you're under the yoke, then your soul isn't liberated. My soul isn't 100% liberated, I got to do my work. But what that is, nobody could tell me this. Nobody can tell you what your work is. You have to know this, so you have to spend time figuring it out. And that's exactly the time nobody gives you here. So you have to take it. From the time, you sit around watching movies or masturbate, that's where you take the time from. You don't take the time from hiking or something. You take the time from the useless stuff, you picked up along the way. From that you take the time. And then time starts to flow again, and then energy starts to build up, and then you can really pour. Like everything will be flushed out. And it's a kind of a dreadful process, because you really loved all the chocolate and suddenly chocolate falls away. Well, too bad. It was worshipping the lower gods. Now you cannot do this anymore. Well, why does it why is it worshipping the lower gods? How can I tell? I just realized it. So I stopped with coffee, I stopped with chocolate. Well, that's a tough ride. Then you can say, well, why can't I drink, why can't I eat cinnamon or turmeric, but not cocoa? Yeah. No? Yeah. Well, I have never heard of a cult that arose from turmeric. But with cocoa, you kind of get that. Yeah, you don't hear of ecstatic dance festivals with turmeric. No, but you hear of them with ceremonial cacao. That's just what I'm saying. I mean, Nothing, you shouldn't drink things regularly because you think you need it. If it makes you feel a certain way, especially powerful, which is clearly what cocoa does, it just kind of makes you feel powerful. I don't know why, it just feels that way. It also, in a sense, is what coffee does, and sugar and all that stuff. Yeah, that's what you get then. It's like lower gods, instant gratification, but you just want to build it up. Wow, there's just no end to this criticism on the Bhagavad Gita. Unmoved by joy, unenvyingly, the same in good and evil fortunes, no wise bound by bond of deeds. Nay, but of such a one. This is really not my thing. Whose crave is gone, whose soul is liberate, whose heart is set on truth. It's a really, like, wake up people, this is not the answer to your problems. Of such a one, what work he does is work of sacrifice, which passeth purely into ash and smoke consumed upon the altar. All's then God, the sacrifice is Brahm, the ghee and grain are Brahm. The fire is Brahm, the flesh it eats is Brahm, and unto Brahm attaineth he who in such office meditates on Brahm. Some votaries there be who serve the gods with flesh and altar smoke, but others some who, lighting subtler fires, make purer rite with will of worship. Yeah, you don't need all these gimmicks. You know, if within you've done your purification, you don't need to go onto these large scales. Then your kind of worship is just by, I don't know, keeping your heart open. Which path is purely into ash, okay. Some votaries there be who serve the gods with flesh. Okay. With flesh. Yeah. You see this? With flesh, that's manslaughter. So now he contradicts himself again. The sacrifice is Brahm, the G blah blah blah. In such office meditates on Brahm. Some votaries there be who serve the gods with flesh and altar smoke, but others some who, lighting subtler fires, make purer rite with will of worship. Meaning that, you know, what you want cannot be attained by violence. Of the which be they who, in white flame of continence, consume joys of the sense, delights of eye and ear, foregoing tender speech and sound of song. And they who, kindling fires with torch of truth, burn on a hidden altar stone the bliss of youth and love, renouncing happiness. And they who lay for offering their wealth, their penance, meditation, piety, their steadfast reading of the scrolls, their lore painfully gained with long austerities. Yeah, you don't need to read scrolls all the time. You just do it, and you just have to keep on living. And they who, making silent sacrifice, draw in their breath to feed the flame of thought. Breath work, also tumo, breath of fire, and breathe it forth to waft the heart on high, governing the vantage of each entering air, lest one sigh pass which helpeth not the soul. Yeah, if it's heavy, you can sigh. And they who, day by day, denying needs, But some people sigh because they want attention. Instead of sighing, you can just yawn or just breathe, you know. You don't have to sigh to get attention. A lot of people do this. So, yeah, what if, you're sighing? Go hiking barefoot. Draw in their breath to feed the flame of thought, and breathe it forth to waft the heart on high, governing the vantage of each entering air, lest one side pass, which helpeth not the soul. Okay. And they who day by day denying needs, lay life itself upon the altar flame, burning the body one, lo, all these keep the right of offering. So you can sacrifice bad habits or habits in general. You can sacrifice thoughts, and then they'll be burned up. So it's like letting go, what he's saying. You have to let it go. As if they slew victims, and all thereby efface much sin, ye, and who feed on the immortal food left of such sacrifice, to Brahma pass, to the unending. But for him that makes no sacrifice, he hath nor part nor lot, even in the present world. How should he share another, O thou glory of thy line? In sight of Brahma, all these offerings are spread and are accepted. So you can sacrifice your wish to kill your opponents, basically. Comprehend that all proceed by act, for knowing this, thou shalt be quit of doubt. The sacrifice which knowledge pays is better than great gifts offered by wealth, since gifts' worth, O my prince, lies in the mind which gives, the will that serves. And these are gained by reverence, by strong search, by humble heed of those who see the truth and teach it. Knowing truth, thy heart no more will ache with error, for the truth shall show all things subdued to thee as thou to me. Moreover, son of Pandu, wert thou worst of all wrongdoers, this fair ship of truth should bear thee safe and dry across the sea of thy transgressions, as the kindled flame feeds on the fuel till it sinks to ash. So unto ash, Arjuna, unto naught the flame of knowledge wastes works dross away. There is no purifier like thereto in all this world, and he who seeketh it shall find it, being grown perfect in himself. Believing he receives it when the soul masters itself and cleaves to truth and comes, possessing knowledge, to the higher peace, the uttermost repose. But those untaught, and those without full faith, and those who fear are silent, they are shent. No peace is here or otherwhere, no hope nor happiness for whose doubts. He that, being self-contained, hath vanquished doubt, disparting self from service, soul from works, enlightened and emancipate. My prince, works fetter him no more. Cut then a twain with sword of wisdom, son of Bharata. This doubt that binds thy heartbeats, cleave the bond born of thy ignorance. Be bold and wise, give thyself to the field with me, arise. Yeah, here ends chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita, entitled Jnana Yoga, or the Book of the Religion of Knowledge. Well, this one, at least, he didn't keep on droning about the killing all the time. So let's see if it changes in the course of this. He always says, do thy duty, but he will never tell you exactly what your duty is. You have to know what your duty is, and that's the thing. So you gotta listen. So sometimes it's not what people often say to you directly. Nobody will say these things directly to you. There's like things that are being said without lips moving. That's all I can give you on this one. You really have to learn to listen. It's really hard. Because a lot of stuff is said, but usually the messages I get is more like hearing thoughts. Like, that's like, stuff like this, it comes up, it's somewhere on the periphery. You have to be silent a lot, and there has to be silence within you, which is why I can only recommend or encourage people to do a cleanse with elemental sulfur. It's like this yellow powder that doesn't at all mix with water. It's not MSM. That's what I believe to be organic sulfur. This is more like inorganic or anorganic sulfur. I believe it is called elemental sulfur. And if you are full with yeast and you cannot concentrate and you just cannot let go, then I believe this could help you. It's a tough ride, but being depressed for the rest of your life and being eaten up by fungi is a much tougher ride, I'd say. Okay, that was chapter 4.